you to what you remember when the Rays traded away Logan Forsythe?
Yeah.
Now he had a couple more years of control compared to Dozier at the time, and they got back a pitching prospect named Jose De Leon. He eventually had Tommy John surgery this year, along with Brett Honeywell, but he was a guy that was being rumored to eventually being traded. It was just for the right piece, and they found that with Logan Forsythe. Dozier is a little bit older, but he's a lot more of he has a higher upside than Forsythe. But with him being close to free agency, I don't think it's going to cost you as much in terms of giving. I don't think you're going to have to give up your top 5 prospects. It might have to be maybe your number 15, your number 14.
Right.
It all depends on what the Twins are looking for. But if the Twins are out of it by July, why keep him? Why not give him up? Why not trade away the assets you have and try to be able to either recoup some money or try to keep this prospect thing going? Because right now, if they're out of it, what's the point?
Right. Yeah. No, and they should. They absolutely should. And I think you're right on line with that. A top probably 12 to 16 prospect, will get it done. And sometimes you can really strike gold because, I mean, look at what the Blue Jays got, that Teoscar Hernandez guy for for Liriano.
Francisco Liriano, yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
crazy. And not that guy's like insane, but I mean, he's been pretty impressive thus far. And
well, let's not forget, I know we're going back, maybe 7 years ago, but there was a trade that the Astros made when they flipped Brett Myers for Chris Davinsky. Davinsky was dominant out of the bullpen the last couple of years. He was just a throw-in, know?
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that you could find a diamond in the rough. Perfect example with the Yankees, just going on them real quick. When they traded away Martin Prado and David Phelps, Cashman wanted to make sure that he got Domingo Germán in the trade.
Yeah.
And he was just a toss-in because the Marlins were like, you know what? We're just trying to win. Here's this A-ball kid who has a great arm but has zero command. And now Domingo Germán is at least a serviceable piece in the major leagues. So it's all about your player development. And the Red Sox have a good player development system. The Yankees have a good one. Some other teams are very adequate in being able to get their guys that they're searching for. And it might not work like that player, like perfect example, Chris Davinsky. He wasn't doing anything in Chicago, but he gets traded over to Houston and he fits into their system, their plan, their philosophy, and he grows into this prime player.
Right. He is a bit of a head case, though, isn't he?
Who, Davinsky?
Yeah.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, his delivery is so unique, and I think he throws like a split changeup, but it's not a split changeup. The way he throws it's odd. But personally, Ken Giles is more of a head case than Davinsky. I mean, he punched himself in the face.
Yeah, he's a little nuts, though. He's like Papelbon, times 100.
Times 1,000.
Okay, well, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, he's a little out there, but yeah, they're probably going to want to. That's probably going to be the move they make at the deadline. Is probably the bullpen, I would think.
They're going to get a closer. They're not going to go into that postseason again without getting a bullpen guy because you can't rely on those starters to throw 8-9 innings every start. They're going to be taxed by the postseason.
Yeah. And their rotation is solid to not even make a move, and I think their lineup is still very serviceable.
Their rotation is the best in baseball.
Yeah, bar none.
Bar none. When you have 3 guys who are competing, who are in the top 5 for Cy Young right now, you're pretty good. Yeah. I think you're solid.
Yeah. What do you think about those accusations that Bauer made, though?
I mean, he makes a valid point. I mean, he's great for stirring the pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be honest with you, and this is just my personal, take on it, reading up about what the Astros have been doing, and I get Baseball America, so I try to keep track of prospects and everything else that goes on in baseball itself. And I actually read about what the Astros are doing with, StatCast and TrackMan and everything. And what they did with Verlander was They were able to find a way with this blue box that's set up in a place that nobody knows in Houston. They can't find out where it is, but it tracks every second of the pitcher that from the time he breaks his hands. It's like perfect, like picture by picture, frame by frame. And they were able to show Verlander how with Detroit, the way he was coming around on his slider was just like a 2-inch difference. So he corrected it, and now it's back to being that filthy pitch again. I don't think they're cheating. I just think they're ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I just thought it was interesting, and they happen to be, like you said, 3 of them are, going to compete for the Cy Young. But, yeah, and another thing, too, is, I mean, they know something, though. I mean, they know something that no other team knows. And I don't know. Who thought Garrett Cole would be that filthy?
Oh, well, I see, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Garrett Cole always showed that, he would show a couple starts through the season for the Pirates that he can be that 15, 16, 17 strikeout guy. But the Pirates were an organization that preached throwing inside, throwing fastballs. But going to a team like the Astros, or even if he was traded to the Yankees, they rely more on throwing breaking balls and, finishing guys off with, the two-seam away, like using more of the breaking balls first. And in Houston, it helps that you have a stellar defense in of itself. But the fact that he went to a team that relies more on breaking balls and has a way to be able to help pitchers no matter who it is. You saw with Charlie Morton, we mentioned Verlander. It was a perfect spot for Garrett Cole. Right.
Yeah, and last year the World Series got won, when Houston got Verlander. And I knew it at the time. I think I tweeted exactly that on August 31st. And, the Cubs could have had him, if they were willing to, give up a good enough package. The Yankees could have went after him.
Yep.
Whoever got him was probably going to win the World Series, and that's what happened. And now they have Garrett Cole, who is having his best season in probably 4 or 5 years, and and with the resurgence of Charlie Morton, who's a really great story. Who doesn't love Charlie Morton?
He's from Connecticut.
Yeah, is he? Oh, I didn't know that.
He's from Reading, Connecticut. He pitched against my high school right before I got into high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was not fun to pitch against, but he wasn't fun to hit against.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine. Anybody who makes the majors must have been probably one of the best players in the history of their high school. I would think.
If not close.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. They've built this monstrous rotation, and the Red Sox and the Yankees can have a dick measuring contest all year long, but the Astros are going to be the team to beat regardless of how we look on paper.
You know what's scary about the Astros? Their organization in terms of prospects, they have one of the best still after trading away guys for Verlander and Cole and all these other trades. They still have a top 5 farm system where they can go out and get anybody. I think that's what makes them that's much more scary, because I understand the contracts. I know they just signed Altuve. Correa's coming up. Springer they signed for 2 more years through his ARB. But the Astros have something where if they can do it correctly, and I think they will, this could be the type of team that you could – I don't want to compare it to the late 90s Yankees, but it's pretty freaking close.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys are in a situation though where you are very sustainable as well.
Yep.
It's just unfortunate that your rotation isn't quite there. And why don't we just get on that real quick? We're coming up on the hour mark. Who are some targets out there? Cole Hamels is the popular one, and I don't
Yep.
look at him like an instant game changer for you guys. I look at him as more of a stabilizer. Someone who will come in there, probably be consistent, and
Agreed.
with your offense, at least keep them in the game. But who else is out there?
To be honest with you, I mean, we talked about Verlander last year being on the market. Garrett Cole was traded in the offseason. I thought he was a guy that maybe could have been a July 31st trade guy, but there's not much. I mean, Archer, Fulmer, Hamels, there might be a couple other guys, but there's really nobody out there who could make that much of a difference. My personal opinion, I think Hamels is the one guy that could, I don't want to say change a rotation, but I think he could be, like you said, that stabilizer. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's pitched in Texas, which is a beyond hitter-friendly ballpark. So wherever he goes, especially I know there was rumors about maybe him going back to Philly. The Braves is another option, the Yankees. Wherever he goes, he's going to help them out. It's just a matter of if that team is because he has a no-trade clause. So it's a matter of is that team on his no-trade clause? 2, if that team is, how are they going to be able to persuade him to come to them? And 3, what prospects are going to be given up? Because for certain teams like the Yankees, where they're trying to stay under that luxury tax, in order to get Cole Hamels, you have to be willing to eat up, or rather have the Rangers eat that money. But then by them doing that, you have to give up more prospects.
Right.
So what are you willing to give up?
And yeah, that's exactly that. I think, is this the last year of his contract before the options?
Yes, he has. This is his last year, and then he has, I think, a club option. I could be wrong.
I think there are club options, yeah.
Okay, he has a club option.
I got pretty familiar with that in 2015 when I prayed to sports god every night that we would trade for him, and then
he would have helped you guys a lot. He would have.
I think so, yeah, and. He's got that gritty mentality. He's not afraid to hit guys if they're crowding the plate. And, he was the MVP of the 2008, World Championship team. And
yep.
I wanted him so bad. And I love pitchers that aren't necessarily, power guys. I like the finesse guys because I feel like they tend to have the longer careers and pitch better into their 30s. And he's pitching very well for a guy who's 34, 35 years old. And, Rick Porcello could be that type of guy if he could just kind of, rein in his command a little bit. And you guys had Pettit, and I know he had the HGH thing, but, I mean, he still pitched very well. And I think your fan base, was really forgiving towards him, much more so than everyone else. Like the league as a whole just kind of forgave him for everything. And yeah, I mean, he was right around 40, wasn't he, when he retired, or was he even beyond that?
He was 39.
Oh, he was 39, yeah. So
39, 40.
Yeah, so he ended up being a very serviceable guy, and those are the guys I like to target. Verlander had his. I guess he had. Like a core problem or whatever for a couple of years, but we're seeing it with David Price right now. His velocity is dipping, so he's, using a little bit more finesse to get guys out, with his off-speed stuff. But yeah, so that could be a target. What about Madison Bumgarner?
I think there's a 0.00% chance of that happening.
Yeah.
The Giants don't ever. I mean, I could be completely wrong, and the Giants could one day wake up and say, all right, hey, we're out of it. Let's just sell everybody. We'll sell Posey. We'll sell Crawford, Bell. We'll just tear it all down. But honestly, from what I've seen from the Giants the last maybe 15 years, when they have a guy like a Bumgarner or, a Posey when he was young, even when they weren't playing well, they had solid pieces like that. They tend to not want to give up on those players. And Bumgarner especially, he's a fan favorite. So unless the package is like, in terms of the Yankees, giving up Sheffield and Frazier and Gleyber Torres and like 2 other guys, then they would do it. But I can't see it happening.
Well, I thought he was a free agent at the end of the year, and then maybe they could just re-sign him anyway.
Well, he does have a couple, again, just like Hamels. He does have a couple club options that the Giants